Good morning. Welcome to the 2023 Arizona Trail 800-mile Showdown. This is our day 2 update on Mike McKnight attempting the FKT on the Arizona Trail again. And we're about 48 hours in now, and we're going to see how he's doing today. First, we have Ben Light here to talk to, crew chief, and they just saw Mike at his first crew spot of the day. So we can check in with Ben here and see how Mike's doing. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for being on and hosting this. And yeah, so Mike got I'll just let you know a little update. Last night he was able to get to bed, but before midnight, like right around the midnight time, he pulled in to the Gabe Zimmerman trailhead just off of I-10. You cross over I-10 into the Vale suburbs of Tucson area, and got up. He's done 11 miles this morning. We just crewed him at the X9 Ranch Road crossing. This is the last intersection before he heads up a 26-ish mile section up over Mount Micah. His vert on this section is roughly around 6,000 feet of climbing. So big day. We're hoping that they're forecasting about the mid 70s today, so a little cooler than the last 2 days. So we're hoping those cooler temps help out with the huge exposure of the direction of the mountains facing. So he's in good spirits. He's looking well, and rolling with the punches.
Sweet. Yeah, it sounds good. On the Gabe Zimmerman Trail, that's about mile 119 northbound, is
Yes.
that right? Okay, sweet.
I believe so.
This is where I quit last year. Right there, going the other way. That's funny.
Oh, man.
So he's going over Micah Mountain today, which is, like Ben was saying, a pretty long stretch between roads and a lot of climbing. But cooler temps will be good, especially getting up higher at altitude there. The trail basically hits the summit of Micah Mountain, which is a little over 8,000 feet, I believe. It'll definitely be a little bit cooler up there. Some tree cover too, if I remember correctly. Maybe not a ton, but some up high.
Yeah. 10 miles up. When he gets about 10 miles up, he'll cross a kind of a ravine into a camp. There's a camp right there for the thru hikers, and we're hoping that we've been looking at the Far Out app, and someone was through there yesterday and posted and indicated that there's some pools of water up the creek bed just a little ways. So Mike is really crossing his fingers that he can do a little bit of a resupply in water. They got about 4 liters each, him and his pacer, today. And 4 liters is not it sounds like a lot. It weighs a lot, especially when you're going uphill, but man, it's not a lot when you talk about exposure in the Arizona sun.
Yeah, it'll go by quickly. Does he go with a water filter typically to filter water along the trail?
Yeah. It's one of the things that we always keep it in this pack. It's it's one of the things we always keep in, just in case he comes across something random, or he gets stuck out there a little longer than normal. And the water sources are obviously a hit and miss, but the Far Out app is just an amazing resource that he could pull up and kind of get an idea of what's around.
Yeah, super helpful with the comments about water sources. Sweet. So yesterday, looks like he made it a little over 60 miles, 60 or 65 miles, somewhere around there. And was that slightly short of where you guys originally wanted to camp tonight, or was that the trailhead you had in mind?
We had X9 on the list, so he was a little, like, about 11 miles shorter than he wanted to. Even day one was just a little shorter with that new passage. We made a call to cut shorter, so which made today or last night, uh, we're trying to stick to the game plan. The game plan is in bed before midnight. So that's what broke Mike last year, was the sleep deprivation. And so we're trying to really, especially this early on in the run, when you are not crazy, like he's tired, but he's not crazy tired. It's it's easier to, oh, like let's just do another section. It's only, X amount of far, and let's just, like, instead of err on the side of caution. And so we're trying to err on the side of caution and wait till the flatter sections to start picking away more so at the miles, and increase pace. So he's trying to decrease pace just a tad, save energy, be cautious through this. It'll be after tomorrow. Like, he'll have today and tomorrow are big days. After tomorrow, he'll be pretty much in the middle of the desert. So first half of the day will be Mount Lemmon tomorrow, and then into the desert, between Tucson and the Gila River area. And so, so we are a little shorter than we wanted to, but it's just about keeping the wheels on, and him in good spirits. And just like an ultra, like a 200 mile, I always say that the race doesn't start till halfway through. So
Mm-hmm.
we keep reminding each other, like, keep to the plan, at least for the first half, and then evaluate how he's doing before you start pulling any aggressive audibles.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. The first half is just about maintenance and trying to keep up as best you can, and then it doesn't really, come down to whether you're going to make it or not until you're halfway through. Much better to prioritize sleep now. And the current FKT, String Bean or Joe McConaughey's average pace comes out to 60 or 61 miles a day. So that's like what Mike needs to average. I know obviously he wants to go a little bit faster ideally, but in order to get String Bean's FKT, if he can average 61s the rest of the way, that's going to do it. So it's not like he's behind, it's just a little bit behind the ideal scenario.
Yeah, he is aware of where String Bean splits are, especially through this area. I'm trying to, reassure him, because he gets kind of caught up on some of the things like that. I'm trying to, I don't know if in the movie, all we have to go off of is his documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And coming out of these peak areas, I think he pushed pretty hard. Obviously, he pushed. I think he actually did Micah and Lemon in one day, which is
he did,
insane. That's insane. I mean, I don't think most people could even wrap their mind around that one. I mean, especially since I've done it, done the areas, extreme amount of vert, but I'm trying to encourage and remind him that I do think that actually took a little bit of a toll on Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a little bit of a recovery afterwards and stuff. Not that he took any downtime. It just, I don't know about pace. It just takes a toll on the body. So we're just trying to encourage him to keep the body under control, keep the energy levels, and then I mean, who knows what the weather shows for the Grand Canyon, but I don't think we're going to have to post hole like Joe did. So there's always that at the end of this. So no matter what, he's ahead just because of that.
Right.
So not to get caught up, but once we get up more closer to Flagstaff, we can strategize on the push at the end. And if he wants to go into 200 mode or 300 mode and start going down to an hour and a half sleeps and pushing hard. So
right. Yeah, that'll come later. It was pretty early on in his attempt last year that he went pretty much a whole night with no sleep. Is that right?
Yeah, closer to Pine.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, and he actually even hit a couple sections up there between Flagstaff and the Grand Canyon where the crew couldn't get to him. Like I think even he talked about a little bit in the preview show about going out on a 7 mile section with just a water bottle and a couple of gels, and then the crew couldn't get to him, and it ended up being a 50K, a 30-mile section before with just a water bottle and no refills and a gel. So, I mean, no matter how you look at that, it's going to it's going to tax your body, and really hard to recover from something like that during a big effort like this.
Right, right. Yeah, that's not a good place to be. And when did he start this morning? I know yesterday it was just after 6 a.m., I believe. Was it a little bit earlier today or right around the same time?
Yeah, so we had the same alarm. We had a 5 a.m. alarm. He was actually faster today out the door. I think he was on the trail by 5:45. So yeah, it was yesterday. It was a little like 30 minutes, a little longer. Today was 30 minutes faster. So just a 45 minutes from alarm to starting to run, which I don't know if people don't quite understand, like the getting up, getting moving, getting breakfast in yourself, using the restroom, getting dressed, trying to figure out what, today, wrap your mind around today and what you need, organize the pack and stuff like that. Minutes go by really fast and they add up really fast. And it's, before you know it, it's an hour. So those are, so 45 minutes out the door was a really win.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's solid. If he can keep that up, that's, an extra 30 minutes a day is another couple miles, so makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Did he sleep better last night also?
He slept hard. No snake dreams, no snake charming, He said he went down right before 12 or right around 12 and didn't even blink an eye. I think he said his first so over there by the Gabe Zimmerman trailhead, there's a train, and I think we had a train wake up call right around 4:15. So he had a good four, and he said he dozed back and he heard his alarm at 5. So he had to wake up at 4:15 with the train and the train horn going by, but then was able to get just a quick, something rest, and then his alarm went off and started the day.
Yeah.
So 4 hours to Mike is that's like a full night's sleep. So
yeah, that's pretty solid.
Mike, that's solid.
That's funny. Yeah, I have very strong memories from that exact spot, because that was where I quit my attempt last year around 3 in the morning, and I remember I just lay down in the trail under the train there and slept for a couple hours till the sun came up, and I woke up to the train going by and people, day hikers, walking by, just staring at me lying on the ground there, and felt like definitely looked like a crazy person, felt a little bit crazy, and that was not very nice, but glad the train wasn't too much of an issue for Mike this time.
Yeah, at least it wasn't running all night. That was an epic fail on my part on picking a spot to sleep.
Yeah, sweet. And has he been eating well again all day yesterday?
He's definitely at that point where things don't sound good anymore. It's like very selective. His go-to right now is it's a Venice primal. I think it's a prime. Is it or Force of Nature? Force of Nature venison sausage, breakfast sausage. So he can't get enough of that right now. So we have a grocery stop to do of probably like 6 or 8 of those pound, to pick those suckers up, because he just keeps going through that. He goes through egg salad. So he likes the hard-boiled eggs with uh, Primal Kitchen mayo and some mustard and salt, and he's been eating that stuff. And then smoothies. He's really loving fruit smoothies with the raw milk. And out on trail, I guess the big thing for him right now, I'm wondering if we're going to even have enough. Maybe I might have to talk to Spring about drop shipping him some more stuff. But he can't get enough of these brand new Spring meal. They have a new flavors. They used to just have like the oatmeal, like it was like an oatmeal one that they had for like a year or two. Well, they came out with some new flavors, and they got this oat pineapple, and he 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 can't muster down a lot of stuff during the day in the heat, but he can't get enough of these bad boys.
Yeah,
And they're
they're in.
300 calories, so that's a good fuel source
Yeah,
right there.
yeah, yeah. Good hit of calories there. I assume those are kind of limited right now. Then trying to use them somewhat
Yeah,
sparingly.
we're trying to be selective, and we're trying to be, remind him that
Hmm.
it's not a bottomless well of resources on that on that side. But I'll work my magic. I mean, we're out here for a number of days. I'll work my
Hmm.
magic and see if we can get something drop shipped to a kind volunteer and uh, ran out to us. That would be amazing.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. Hopefully, you guys can get some more of those while he's still on trail. So, how many miles back was it where he started this morning? And then what mile marker in are you today or
Okay,
for the day?
without getting off my phone here and actually looking at numbers.
Roughly.
So I did a post. I think it's what was it 119 was Zimmerman. So we're at 130, I guess you could say
Okay.
131. I think we're at 131 here.
Okay, cool.
So and I don't just without looking, I don't have and 26 miles on the section. So if you do the math, so it's like 150 something.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, where we'll see him next. We won't see him until like dusk. So
Hmm.
we got a pretty day of laundry and hopefully and do showers
Nice.
and grab some more groceries, clean out some stuff, restock ice. Like we got a laundry list of things to do, and then before you know it, we'll be meeting up with him.
Yeah, it sounds like Mike is doing quite well.
There
A
you
little
go.
bit behind. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, something
Sweet.
happened.
Something
Yeah.
happened. But yeah, I was just saying how these longer gaps between crew spots are probably really helpful for you guys. So you have a few hours to get all these chores done while he's out there running.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a question from Trails of an Old Runner here. Is he running alone now?
So Mike's had a pacer ever since he ran the first section, the first 20 miles by himself solo, roughly. And ever since then, we've had a pacer with him. So he actually has his client Rob with him right now. And actually a local guy showed up, and he just going to go do, I guess, five or like handful of miles out, and then he'll just turn around and come back. He doesn't have, the whole day to go up and over. So
Hmm.
actually a really nice gentleman. He came out when I did it last year and met me on the other side of Micah, and ran up like halfway up the mountain on the other side to jump to meet up with me, and then ran me back into my cruise spot. So yeah, I was super humbled by acts of kindness like that, because I'm sure Mike gets probably tired of seeing the same faces that we keep
Right.
rotating in, and you start to lack of conversation. And when you get a fresh new face, it's like, hey, tell me your story. Like
Hmm.
Mike's not going to be sit there and jibber jabber being kind of pushing it, but he can listen to someone else's story and share what drives them to do what we do and to come out and to volunteer. And it's just so appreciative. And the energy that other people expel, you pick up on as a runner, and it's just invigorating and powerful.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine that's super inspiring to see all the people coming out wanting to support him and support you last year along the way.
You think about like the through hiking, and you got your three different categories of supported, self-supported, and unsupported. And the whole thing about the unsupported, and there's a big thing about that is that emotional support that you get from another human being that you are familiar with or that's out there with you. So that emotional support is a big makes a big difference. So when someone's going after, like the unsupported attempt type of a thing, that isolation is another obstacle that you're trying to overcome. So when you're doing this supported and you feel that emotional support from random strangers, it's a huge deal. We saw how far it drove Mike last year, even when he was in the well really bad, and he was really contemplating on quitting about 200 miles earlier. I mean, really contemplating it. And it was the kindness, the support, the message reaching out to him that drove him 200 extra miles. So it's a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. It can be super, super helpful. All right. Shad, do we still have the other guy in the... Yeah, still in here. Sweet. So we have Jeff Browning on the line as well, Mike's coach. And
hey,
here we are. Jeff Browning, how's it going?
Can you guys hear me?
We
Good.
can hear
How
you.
you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Awesome. Yeah, Mike looks like he's plugging along.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is all he should be doing right now. Take
Right.
care of himself.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So, I think one thing that some of the stuff that Ben talked about earlier is kind of he's been sticking to the plan, and he definitely made some mistakes the last attempt early on in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of discussed that over the last year, and he really started to kind of analyze his own effort and where we kind of thought he kind of, I would say he put himself in a hole so early last time. And I would say, for the record, against my wishes, as a coach, we had talked about it, and I told him, whatever you do, don't do it at the expense of sleep. And he made an audible and pushed on through, and really struggled. I think that was the beginning of the end
Mm-hmm.
of that attempt. And this is such a big effort that you really have to just take care of yourself that first, 8 or 10 days, and then see what you have.
Right.
And see if you're in a position to, like Ben said, pull a 200 or a 300 style push, but you only have one of those.
Right.
And with this kind of effort. And so if he's definitely got to just keep relaxed and smooth and keep taking care of himself. Don't get in the hole anywhere. I think what he did earlier, I still hear somebody laughing. It sounds like we still got Ben
Yeah,
on
I
the
think
line
that's Ben on the line.
Yeah, so I mean, I think if he can keep doing what he's doing, and like you said earlier, he just needs to average 61 miles a day. So just
Yeah.
so right now he's doing great, even having to come up a little short yesterday on what his goal was. Sometimes Mike can put some pretty audacious goals together. I've been coaching for a lot of years, and he likes to throw them out there, and I think that's great. And I think, but hopefully he can keep it in perspective. I haven't had a chance to talk to him for a couple of days, but when we threw together the strategy originally, he had talked about going north to south again, but then the more we talked about it in this time of year, and especially with the terrain, he lives at 4,700 feet. So, up here on the Coconino Plateau, it's 7,000 feet. He shouldn't have too many issues. And the terrain is so much easier than the southern half of the ACT. Um, it is really technical, especially in the middle. So, the superstitions, it, it, all of those sections are hot and can be hot and hard. And I think getting that out while you're a little fresher is probably a wise choice. And that's kind of where our strategy fell when we flipped it to go south to north.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Plus it comes, I'm in Flagstaff. So, he's coming my way. So I'm a carrot. I just got to get him here. Right. And then I'll start helping, help the crew and Ben, and I'll pace, towards the end. So over the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to get him to next weekend. Um, and if Ben can get him here, we can try to, whip him to the finish.
Right.
So he's pretty easy to get motivated if you can keep a certain carrots in his mental. So he's strong. He's tough. Um, and I mean, obviously, after all these 200s he's done, and the Triple Crown, and the Colorado Trail FKT, and all those,
Mm-hmm.
he's definitely got a resume. So he definitely can, if he can put all the puzzle pieces together, I think he can be successful here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think it helped so much having his experience from last year to compare to, and to have such a good idea, such a good understanding of what the trail is like and what an effort of over a week feels like.
Yeah, and what it's like to overdo it,
Right.
to cook yourself like 7 days in. That was, he went from, we were talking on the phone. I'd helped him crew through Flagstaff last year, and then he got down to Pine, and kind of threw an audible, and he called me, and we had a good chat about it, and but he decided to continue to push through one night to try to get back on track. But it was like he also had big days on his early, and this time we talked about, like, you just need to cover the bare minimum, and you need to hike a lot at the beginning. You need to chill out and relax, and not worry so much about like running constantly, because it's going to be runnable later. Once you get up to the Coconino Plateau, there's a lot of runnable, and if he has some legs and he's adapted, and you got to kind of let that body adapt over multiple days of these kind of efforts, because the body will start to adapt, but it takes a bit, and you get a little beat up at the beginning, because the body's like, what are you doing? Right. It's just like anything. When we go to train and we go to run a race, we've been training 20 to maybe 30 milers at the max, and you get to that 20-30 mile range of a long race, and your body's like, what? Or we're stopping, we're going to the trailhead, right? We're going home to eat. And then you don't do it. So the body has to have that adjustment period. And so we got to let that kind of happen. It sounds like he's getting good calories in. He's going to be really, I mean, one of the things we talked about is just focusing on some protein that sounds good. So I think, protein is going to be an important thing for repair, with these kind of big efforts every day, back to back to back to back. So sounds like he's getting some of that in, and the body will tell him what he needs. So I think the big change this year, that Force of Nature has got a little bit of organ meat in it. So all you carnivore and keto people out there, you will appreciate this. It's definitely a mix of that sausage with some, I think heart and liver. So that should help too, because that's like a superfood. So I'm glad he's craving that, because that's something he really leveraged after last year. He felt really depleted post AZT when he went 620 miles. And one of the things we talked about was the nutritional side of things for repair. And that's when he really got on a liver kick last year. He was like eating liver every single day for like days and days and days and weeks after the event. He had come through Flagstaff after it with his wife, and we had dinner together with my wife and him, the four of us. And that's one of the things we talked about then, that dinner was like, liver, because he was having even some weird like eyesight stuff going on. Like his eyes seemed to be like worse than they normally were. He wears glasses, prescription glasses like I do. And he just felt like his eyesight was weird after that big of an effort going to the well. But a little bit of time eating liver definitely fixed that. So I think that's in the back of his head as well. just keeping that nutrient density up.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like you guys talked a lot about the nutrition in general going into this and having a pretty solid plan for what he wants to be eating all the time. I'm sure that's very helpful.
And hydration too was another kind of discussion point for this, because he's starting out in the heat, carrying more than he normally would. He tends to, I've paced him multiple times, but I know Ben spent a lot of time on the trail with him too, and he could probably attest to this. But there's times when Mike will go a little more minimal on water than he should, and that's something we talked about it quite a bit going into this one. Is like, you can't afford to like go light in a few spots. If you're ever questioning, should I take 3 liters? Should I take 4? Always take 4.
Yeah. You'll drink it.
So you'll drink it for sure. If you carry it, you'll drink it. So, especially on this trail. I mean, it's exposed. It's hot. It looks, today he's going into a little bit of altitude today. So, cooler temps. So hopefully that'll be a nice break for him. And I'll get into some trees and, that kind of stuff. So going over for Micah, and then, so hopefully that helps too, give him a little bit of a reprieve from the last couple days.
Yeah. More higher altitude stuff today and tomorrow also, going over Mount Lemmon will be cooler.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's smart for him to break it up. Like, Ben was talking about earlier. I think it's smart to break those 2 big days up instead of pulling them together like String Bean did. I agree with Ben. I think that probably took it out of Joe a little for a few days. And I think if you can spread the peanut butter, so to speak, more smoothly and more evenly, it's probably smarter.
Yeah. That seems like an unnecessarily big day for day 3 or whatever that would be. Yeah. 70 plus miles with both those.
Yeah, that's a big day. I mean, that's a big effort by itself.
Right.
Not counting going into the AZT. So I think doing those, I think mentally too, it's easier to like go, okay, I just got to get over Micah today. Okay, I just got to get over Lemon today.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning versus, oh my gosh, I got to get over both of those today. So, yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah. Another question about his coaching. Was his training going into this different at all from his training last year?
Like we try to keep it loose, as far as not loose, but like, he had flat days, he had vert days. He really focused on just big days on his feet, and he spent more time in the weight room going into this one than he did last year. So, strength training, just, muscle base. So you have something to pull from, and a big base to pull from. I think that was a change this year. Other than that, like mileage wise, he's very similar to what he has trained in the past. We kind of have I've been coaching for years. So like we kind of have a ballpark of what he likes and knows how much he needs. And some of that's intuitive between coach and athlete. So sometimes he'll come back with a suggestion and be like, hey, this weekend, I really want to do this and this. Is that okay? And then, it's usually yes. Because anytime you're motivated to go, you put a big day in training, and it's at the appropriate time in the training cycle, we want you to be psyched about what you want to do. And so that's one of the beauties of trail running and trail, coaching, is we get to say, yeah, I kind of wanted you to run a 22 miler, but if you want to run a 27, with a bunch of vert and a really cool route because it's fall in the Bear River range, then yeah, you should absolutely go do that. And then we just adjust a couple other workouts around that. So to accommodate, what he really wants to do. So there's a lot of back and forth, he texts me a lot, just, all the time, just, hey, what do you think about if I do that, this, for a long run this weekend, if I have a general recommendation, because I usually put a general recommendation of what I want him to do. Let's say it's, 25 with, 500 to 1,000 feet of climbing average per hour, right? So, I just want him to do a hilly route, or a mountainous route and get out in it. Or it's, it's rolling flat terrain. So I usually call out terrain in workouts for him. So, and then I let him choose where, what's a ballpark route he could do in his backyard that he's motivated to do. So it leaves a lot of room for creativity in the workouts on his part. And then, I'm just looking at the umbrella of like, hey, are we putting in the volume? Are we putting in the right kind of work? Because there is flat running in this course. We also talked a lot about hiking in this time, thinking like, hey, listen, you don't have to run the whole thing, and obviously, I think that's obvious to most people that are following this, that you don't run the whole thing. You hike a lot, but just practicing hiking, right? It's a skill set. It's a physiology that's, distinctly different than downhill running or uphill running or flat running. So you're using different muscles, and so he definitely practiced that as well coming into this. And that was one of the plans here early, was to hike more in the early half of this, just to let the body adapt and not to pound it right away. So I think, there's a lot of lessons that came out of the last attempt. And we talked a lot about, logistics, and he worked on his logistics a little more this time. Ben tends to be his logistics brain. And I've given him a lot of trouble over the years about his lack of logistics, or his lack of embracing logistics. But I mean, sometimes that's his strong suit, because he'll just fly by the seat of his pants and put his head down and hammer, and which is really, a testament to some of his success, because he is hard-headed. But and you need that to do what he's doing right now. You got to be really hard-headed. But I think when you get to this kind of distance, logistics matter huge. I mean, they're going to make or break his attempt. If he does get it, I'll be super stoked. But if he doesn't again, then we'll have some things to talk about and say, well, where do you think we lost it? And usually it's logistics. I mean, it's going to be like Ben was talking about, the getting up in the morning. That burns time, right? Can you be out of bed on trail in 30 minutes? Can you be out of bed in trail in 45 minutes? Or is it an hour? Or as you get more tired, does that end up being an hour and 15 minutes from getting up, right? Because you're slower and slower getting around. Like, there's all kinds of little things that can make or break like your move time during the day. And ideally, you need to be up and moving as quickly as possible, not burning time sitting. Right? You're either sleeping or you're moving. Right? As much as you possibly can. Now, obviously, we have to sit, and obviously has to eat, and obviously has to get ready in the morning, and it's going to be tight, and it takes a while, and you need to do a little bit of, gun work. But yeah, I mean, I think that's an important piece of the puzzle for sure.
Yeah, all that stuff adds up a lot. The longer the thing is, the more that stuff all counts. One other question about his training. How long was the training block for the ACT? Because I know he didn't decide for sure if he was going to do it again until somewhat recently.
Yeah, he, let's see, the training block was, I'd have to go back to his training log, but I can do that real quick because I have it here. Hold on just a second.
Yeah, no problem. So his last race was Leadville, is that right?
Yes, last race was Leadville. Let's see. Yeah, so this block would have been this block was a pretty good block. Like, we had Leadville, and then and obviously covering 100 miles matters. So that's definitely an adaptation. He had a little bit of rest after that, and then we got back into it. He did go up to help Ben at the Divide 200. Ben ended up dropping on that with some injury stuff, which we knew going into it might be a potential. So he had a little additional rest, but I kind of told him, like, hey, you just did 100. it's okay to have another week of extra rest during this time. And then he kind of, after that, he kind of got back on it. He had a little bit of a vacation to Hawaii where he ran every day, but it was more relaxed. And then when he got back, he was kind of on it. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4. He had about a 4-week block before getting on the AZT, right? So, a really 4-week focused block. But I mean, we had a ton of training before that. He doesn't, he had a little off season last winter or after the AZT, but he's definitely has put in, a solid year. So, he's strong and like me, he races quite a bit. So he's always kind of in between, like, you're always tapering and resting from that big effort and then trying to do a little peak and taper again. So we're just ebbing and flowing according to his race schedule. So he definitely puts in big mileage with racing. But he also this year got on a really big gym kick. So on his own, he was just like really, we've always prescribed strength training and mobility work, but this year he really kind of embraced that piece and really took it to another level and spent more time in the gym this year. So, he's definitely got he's got a little bit bigger muscle mass, he's carrying around than he has previously, but going into something like that, I don't think that's a bad thing. Strength weight ratio is good. So, which is probably stronger than his previous lighter weight. So, so that's not a bad thing. Especially going into something where you're going to cannibalize a lot of muscle. On a 2 week, over 2 weeks, or almost 2 weeks, I guess. 13 days, 3 hours, 21 minutes.
21 minutes. Yep.
21 minutes. Don't forget the 21 minutes.
Hopefully the 21 minutes doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's good to know.
Hopefully it's less than 13 days, 3 hours, but we'll see. He really wants to get under 13, but I'd just be happy if he got under 13.3.
Yeah.
So, and I think he has potential. I mean, if you look at what Joe had to do and the post holing, that there is room there.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
For improvement with that kind of, because hopefully we don't have that. I mean, right now the 10-day forecast looks good. So we're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed for the North Rim. Because it is that time of year, but that's one of the things we talked about, and that is the risk of like Mother Nature and fighting, and trying to plan a big thing like this. It's like, okay, hopefully it's not crazy, unseasonably hot in the southern end, and hopefully it's not an early giant storm on the northern end, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things about this attempt is so interesting, is that you have such a crazy difference in what you can in weather depending on the north versus the southern half, and it can really it can be a challenge. So hopefully we don't get any early snows. Usually if we do, we get a dusting this time of year, November. So it would, we might get stuff up on Humphreys and up around some of those sections, through Flagstaff. He might be, might have 3 or 4 inches of snow would be the worst case scenario, I'm hoping. I mean, but we were playing it on averages. We looked at, he and I in some coaching calls looked at average temperatures and average rainfall and average snowfall for all this window. And we kind of decided, the risk is worth it because we're trying to balance late enough for it to be cool in the southern end, but early enough that we don't get a ton of snow on the North Rim or something, So first half of November is a really, really good window for just playing the averages. And that's really what you're doing, right? With weather, you're playing the averages. So on something like this. So hopefully that works out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of what the gamble is with going northbound, because going northbound you get to do the harder terrain done with first, but it's likely hotter earlier on and potentially snowing later on. But if the weather works in your favor, it's better. Yeah,
because we're having beautiful weather in Flagstaff right now. Leaves are falling off trees, and it's it was 30 degrees at my house this morning in Flag. So when I woke up, so it's cool. It's really cool in the mornings, but the sun pops up and it's getting up in the upper 50s, low 60s, and we're having afternoon breezes that are pretty higher winds. which is typical for this time of year. So if he gets up here anywhere near on pace, I think he's going to be pretty stoked because he's going to be cooler weather. He likes that. He's a bigger guy. He's tall. So he has a lot of surface area to cool down there in the desert,
Right.
Versus us small guys. I mean, I'm a tiny guy, so I do better in the heat. But he'll definitely, his jam is cooler weather. So once he gets up here, I think he'll be in better spirits even. Just that'll be like another carrot for a reason to get up here.
Right.
So,
Get out of the warmth. Yeah.
yeah, get out of the warmth and get up here where it's a little smoother trails too.
Yep. Yeah. Second half will be way easier.
Yeah, totally.
Well, cool. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Anything else that comes to mind about Mike's run or his training? That was all the questions I have for you.
Yeah, I think that that's it. Hopefully he could just keep plugging away. So
yeah,
it's early, so hopefully he just needs to be taking care of himself, and and that's it, right? One foot in front of the other, and keep putting food in your mouth, and keep drinking, and keep repeating that, and hopefully, and I think Ben's he's in good hands with Ben. I mean, him and they've done a lot of big adventures together, and Ben's supported him a lot. He knows Mike really well, knows how to read him, hopefully, and and hopefully as he's getting tired, I get to step in and help a little towards the end, come Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll be available, and hopefully Tuesday if he's anywhere near the record. I'm kind of clearing my schedule for those 4 days. I have a family thing on Monday, so I don't be able to help him on Monday, but I'll be there the rest of the day to kind of step in and help, as those guys are going to be super tired by then too.
Right.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Hard work for the crew too. They're not
yeah,
sleeping
it's
a lot more
of work,
than him.
man. No, it's so much work. It's that I just got back from Moab helping crew and pace, and even 200s when you're only out for like 3 or 4 days. You know?
Well,
it's hard on a crew.
yeah, it's tough. Well, cool. Thanks for coming on, Jeff. Appreciate you talking a bit about Mike's strategy and training going into this. Good to get some insight into his plan and his thought process for this second attempt.
Well, it was a pleasure to be on. You guys keep up the good work.
Thanks. Yeah. We'll see you later. Have a good one, Jeff.
Okay. Thanks.
And maybe we could check in real quick with his Instagram here and look at his stories before we log off for the day. I think we got a few from yesterday. So there he is yesterday going into mile 80. Gardner Canyon Trailhead. Looking in high spirits with a pacer there, and Ben was saying he's going to have a pacer for every section for the whole rest of the trail from here on out, which is definitely a good idea if and when that's possible. Here we go, mile 95, being conservative in the heat. Cooler temps tomorrow, which is now today. So I think that'll be a big help for him. Yeah, like Jeff was saying, I know the heat is something that gets to Mike particularly hard. So there we are, end of day 2, mile 119. Excellent sleep from midnight to 5. And there's Ben taking a nap. And the 5:45 a.m. start today on day 3. So yeah, that looks like all the social media updates we have for now. And that'll be the end of the show for today, end of our day 2 update. And we'll be back at 9 a.m. tomorrow for day 3. So thanks for tuning in, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow.